But first I want to tell you all something. I'm not a politician. I appreciate being introduced by Randy and all the work that's been done here, but my intention is to be a statesman. And I'm running for State House not just because Bill Randall is highly qualified to go to Congress. I'm running for State House because I believe it's time that our state stood up and we went back to this little concept called state sovereignty. And we told our federal government that there is a box that's defined by the United States Constitution and it's time for them to be put back in it. So our states need to stand up and follow the examples of Montana. We need to follow the examples of Arizona. We need to stand up and say, we are going to do this because this is the law. And we, the people of the state of North Carolina, have decided that this is the path we are going to take. And the federal government, you go up there and you worry about your stuff. We'll take care of North Carolina. Thank you very much. So I have a question for you, though. Why is it that 20%, and that's the polls, progressive liberals make up 20% or less of the population of our country? Why is it that 20% of the population of our country is running roughshod over the other 80% of us? Because we let them. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. It's because we have politicians who are willing to stand back and to deal with distractions. You know, I'm supposed to come up here. I've been told, I've never run for office before, and you can see in my speech here why I'm not a politician. I have been told that I'm supposed to be talking to you about well-polled things like jobs and the economy and taxes and spending, because those are the things that are going to get you all fired up and is going to get me elected. Well, here's the deal. Those are important, and I know for folks who don't have a job right now, jobs are important. I know for folks who are suffering in the economy, it's a big deal. But guys, that's not the problem we have. Those are the symptoms. Those are the symptoms of a government that has lost touch with its foundational documents. Those are the symptoms of a government that has lost touch with the will of the people. And I guarantee you, if we can return to the foundational principles that made this nation great, our jobs are going to come back, our economy is going to do better, capitalism will thrive, because those are the things that made this country great to begin with. So I want to ask you all another question. I'm going to ask for a raise of hands. Who in this audience believes, and this is going to go back to why 20% of the people rule us, who in this audience believes that it is the state that should be telling us what to think? It's a state that should be telling us what to believe about our history. It's a state that should tell us what to believe about God. It is a state that should tell us what we can do in our own homes, whether we can carry arms, where we can carry those arms. Who believes it's the state's right to tell us those things? I don't see any hands. Okay, maybe you didn't understand. Let me ask the question a different way. Who sends their children to public school? You just answered the first question. See, here's the deal, guys, and I got real quiet. I don't understand what you mean, Bill. Here's the deal. Our state schools, and I'm not talking about teachers, I'm talking about the system. It's a systemic problem. Our state school system is training our children to be drones. It was instituted by people with a desire to create a compliant population, a desire to create a group of workers who will do what they're told, not ask too many questions. They'll go work their day's work and they'll go home to watch television so that the marketers can tell them what to buy with the money they just earned.
Amen.
We have created a whole population waiting for the government to hand them a check, waiting for the government to tell them where they can drive or if they can drive, waiting for the government to tell them if they can have a gun. You know, BJ had a great point earlier. He said democracy is two wolves and a lamb arguing over what's going to be for lunch. He didn't finish it. See, liberty is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote. And if we're going to return back to our constitutional roots, we have to be thinking about more than November. Yes, I'm running for office. Yes, November is important. In fact, November is vital. I look at things, I'm a Marine, I look at things in terms of battle plans and warfare. All right? 2008, we had an election. That was Pearl Harbor, folks. We've been under attack for 50 plus years in our school system. We've just been too dumb to know it because we've been asleep. Pearl Harbor happened in 2008. We got bombs dropped on us. Now we know. All right, so what's November then? November is midway. November is not the end of the war. November is that line in the sand where we have to stand up and say we are no longer going to be on the defense, we are going on offense. We are no longer willing to give up island after island, nation after nation. We are no longer willing to give up liberty after liberty after liberty for the sake of appeasement, for the sake of making people feel good about us, for the sake of people thinking that we're peace lovers. That has to stop. And November is the day that stops. But that's the beginning of the battle, gentlemen, ladies. See, now we got to start moving forward. We got to start pressing on towards the enemy shores. And we have to take back the liberties that have been stolen from us. And the way we're going to do that is not with the weapons you're carrying today. Lord forbid we come to that. The way we are going to do that is by the question I asked you earlier. We have to get involved in our school systems. Because the battlefield, ladies and gentlemen, is not Washington, D.C. The battlefield is not Raleigh, North Carolina. The battlefield is the hearts and the minds of our children. And I know a little bit about it because I have 8 of them. My wife will tell you she has 9. So it's time for us, as patriots, as men and women who love liberty, to take responsibility. See, we're all talking about our rights. We've lost our rights to this, we've lost our rights to that. No one's talking about the other R word, responsibility. Responsibility precedes our rights. And we will not retain our rights or regain our rights until we are willing to take responsibility to maintain and to manage them. We will not have the right for life until we are willing to take the responsibility for our lives. And so we have to get into our schoolrooms. We have to get into our school boards. We should have conservatives running on every school board in every county in this state. We should have conservative parents getting into their classrooms and listening to what the teachers are telling them. They should be watching their kids' homework. And I'm going to tell you better yet, if you can't do any of those things, the best thing to do is get your kids out of that public school to start with. Now I'm told, and I get a lot of grief because I'm a homeschooler. I'm said, well, you know, you're a homeschooled father. Thank you. You're a homeschooling father. How do you have anything to say about the public school system? Well, you just left the system. You've dropped it, right? I'm paying for it. That's exactly right. But here's the deal. Yeah, we're paying for it with our taxes. We're paying for it with our liberty. We're paying for it with our lives. We're paying for it with our freedom.
Right.
We have to take it back, guys, because our children's lives depend on it. John Adams said, I must know politics and war so that my children can know mathematics and science. We have to take back the responsibility to educate our children. We have to take back the responsibility that we have abdicated to the government because we're too lazy to do it ourselves, or because we think and we've been taught that we are not qualified to teach our own kids. Who is better qualified to teach their children about integrity and honor and principles than their parents? I ask you that. No one. Who is better qualified? Who cares about their children and their lives and what's going to happen to them more than you do? Nobody. No employee of the state, no matter how many letters or PhD and EIEIO they have after their name, is going to be able to teach your children better than you are. And it's time to stand up and take back that portion of our country. If we can do that, if we can take back the education system. See, the other guys, the liberal progressives, they understood this 50 years ago. They understood that the people were not going to stand up and riot. We looked after World War II and they were waiting for all the men to rise up against their leaders with their arms, and they were already in the field with their rifles, and it didn't happen. And they went back and they scratched their heads and said, well, this communism thing ain't working out so well, guys. What do we do? So they instituted something called the Long March to the Institutions. They understood that if we can take the hearts and the minds of the children today, then the next generation will be a little closer to socialism. The next generation will be a little closer to the progressive ideal. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2008, we are seeing the fruits of their 50 years of effort. We are on a roller coaster ride downhill into fascism. And it's not going to stop until we stand up and say no more. Standing up in November is a start. Taking back our children's education is the long-term goal. We have to have both. We have to have the short-term and the long-term. So if you're serious about restoring our republic, I'm going to ask you to sling your weapons. I'm going to ask you to bring your children home. I'm going to ask you to pull out your Bibles. And I'm going to say to take responsibility for the education of the next generation. Responsibility for instilling your values, your principles, your sense of honor, your sense of integrity into your children's lives. If you find the faith that the Founding Fathers discovered, the faith that the Founding Fathers relied on to found this nation, then I can promise you, you will have found the faith that is going to be necessary to restore this country. Thank you all very much. My name is Rick Smith.